Hey guys, how's it going? We are going to be doing a couple of small garden tasks today, and you're going to hear a chainsaw in the background. I'm actually pre-filming this video well in advance because we are about to get hit with a crazy storm that's supposed to be like 10 days of rain. And so there's all these companies out right now that are making sure that power lines are cleared and that there is no branches hanging over on top of power lines, so that way nobody loses power or anything like that. So we've been hearing chainsaws all day long, all around us. And so I'm sorry about that today. I am mic'd up, so I don't know how much it's actually picking up. So I'm hoping it's not super annoying. But my plan for today is I've got 2 peonies that I need to move. Last year they didn't bloom well for me, and they didn't bloom well because they were planted, or they were deep. And the first year they weren't planted very deep, but then adding mulch on top of everything, and just with life, soil gets moved. These plants have now become too deep, and with peonies, if they become too deep, they don't bloom very well for you. So I think last year we got 1 bloom off of them, when 2 years ago I think I got like 12 to 15 blooms off of them. So they got to get moved. I'm going to transplant them, I'm going to dig them up, and I'm going to just move them somewhere where they will still get full sun. They do well with full sun in my area, lots of extra water for them, but they need to be very, very shallow planted. So we're going to do that today, and then we're going to be planting some snapdragons today. Not snapdragons, we're going to be planting some foxglove today. I've been slowly hardening them off, and I'm excited to get them planted. And then I have a couple things, especially in this bed, that I want to cut back and clean up. Nothing major, just some minor cleanup, things that just need to be prepped for springtime. We've got days that are like in the 60s and 70s, which is really weird for us, or high 60s. Not now, it's going to be cooling way back down with this rainstorm, but it's kind of started to wake up a lot of things in the garden, and so I need to cut things back. So we're going to start here. This used to be the apple espalier bed, and I've got a couple peonies in here. So I've got one of them that is right here, and then I've got another one right here. You can see it's starting to wake up, and then this one too is starting to wake up a little bit. So it's just planted way too deep. I don't even know where the roots are at. I think there's the roots. You really don't want more than an inch of dirt. I tried to come in this fall and get off as much of the dirt as possible on this, but it's just, there's too much dirt on it still. So I want to get these moved. Plus this whole bed, I want it to be something else this year. And so I'm going to be planting evergreens, and I want to plant an evergreen here so it blocks this telephone pole. So we're going to come in, move these guys, and I think that they'll be very, very happy once getting moved. Okay, I've got my clumps of peonies. Look how big this one clump is. Isn't that amazing? And then this is one clump plus a very small clump that broke off of this big, huge clump right here. So with these clumps, usually when you buy peony tubers, you can buy them about now, or peony roots. You can buy them about now in big box stores, and it's a great time to get them planted. And this is usually what you'll get. This might even be quite large for something that you'll get, and they usually have their root, and then they'll have a couple growth points or eyes on them, and you'll plant this, and then in a couple years you will get growth that looks like this, or like my other clump here. This one initially was planted way too deep, and so it's a really good thing that I am digging this up. I did have some breakage. Peonies really don't love their roots being disturbed, so I don't expect too many blooms this year from this. I really am going to expect maybe 1 or 2 blooms, and that's about it from both of these clumps. If I got a better show, I would be very, very happy, but I don't expect it, just because, like I said, they don't enjoy being moved. So we're gonna get these planted now, and I'm gonna make sure that they're not very deep at all. I'm going to be planting them right up to all of these growth points, not covering a single one of these growth points. So really, like this one is only gonna get planted, what is that, 2 inches deep, and that's about it. So it's not gonna get planted deep at all. And then this one will get planted a little bit deeper. And hopefully in a couple years, I've got some big, huge, beautiful peonies. So I've got my peony roots, and I think we've decided to go ahead and go in this bed now. So this is where our white alder tree is, and right here is where one of our dogs are buried, and I thought peonies would be a beautiful addition to this bed. So I'm gonna go right here, leaving a little bit of space away from the front of the bed. We've got this metal edging here, and I'm gonna plant both of these roots. I'm gonna plant them pretty close to each other, so spacing them out maybe a couple inches away from each other, maybe 4 inches away. And we're barely just gonna bury these guys. And I will be going in with just a little bit of fertilizer. This is just some plant tone, and give these guys a nice healthy feed, especially because I'm moving them right before they're getting ready to fully bloom on us. So we're gonna get to digging. It's, like I said, pretty straightforward to not bury these guys too deep. They really don't appreciate that at all. I think I'm gonna go back just a little bit further. Let's see how that fits. I think that's perfect. Healthy handful or 2 of some good fertilizer. Get these guys off to a good start this growing season. Pop these in here, being pretty gentle with the roots because they don't like to move very much. So we don't want to break those guys. And right up to that. Get lots of sun on those roots right there. And then same thing with this. This one's gonna be a lot easier to bury. Basically just laying this on the ground. I think we'll go sideways with this one. Perfect. Work that in. Good contact with the soil. And that's buried. So both of those should start producing roots very, very soon for us. And both of those I expect to see blooms in about a year's time. Like I said, I don't expect to see too many blooms. And I will be putting in a peony cage, which is what I had around the other ones. It just helps give support because these plants do get so top heavy. So it's just a little ring that goes around. You could even use a tomato cage if you choose. Let's go get the last one planted. All right, we've got our last root, and I think that's gonna be a perfect spot for it. This is our back bed by our cut flower garden, and I'm thinking right here, up close to the front of this bed, will be absolutely perfect for it. So this is gonna be a much bigger hole, but same thing, I'm gonna make sure that all of these eyes right here are above the soil level, so that way they get lots of sun. The tops of them, they enjoy cooking quite a bit. And then we're gonna give it a healthy feeding of fertilizer. So let's test that out a little bit more. Do not put these roots under any pressure because they break so easily. I think that's probably about good. So I'm gonna hope that these guys are not too angry at me this year and that I still get some show. I'll take even 1 peony bloom from these guys this year. But like I said, they really don't like to be messed with too much. You really wanna plant them and forget about them, not bothering these. So I'm hoping that I didn't mess with the roots too much. Now let me show you guys the foxgloves that I want to go get planted. The next step is we're going to get some foxglove planted today, and I'm so excited to get my foxglove planted. I have loved foxglove since I was a little kid. One thing to know about them though is they are toxic to dogs and people. If you have children or dogs that eat your plants, these might not be a plant for you. But I have the foxglove rose in this tray here, and I've got a foxglove called peach in this tray here. So with growing foxgloves though, you want to make sure that you are planting ones that grow first year blooms, not second year blooms. That's pretty important. Both of these will give me blooms this year, which I'm very excited about. I love foxglove. And so these ones are going to be planted in full sun area. They need as much sun as they can possibly get. They are a spring bloomer, and usually they will winter over for you. I don't have the best luck with wintering over foxglove, so that's why I always make sure to buy the ones or grow the ones from seed that are going to bloom first year for me. So 2 different varieties, and I have lots of them. I also have some Dusty Miller in this tray, and I also have some Forget-Me-Nots, and both of those I will be waiting just a little bit longer to get them planted. The Dusty Miller would be fine. It's the silver plants in this tray, but I'm just not ready to get them in the ground yet. So we're gonna hold off on those. And the foxglove, I am ready to get those planted. They're nice and big and healthy, perfect size, and they can handle some cold temperatures. So the plan for this bed here is to plant all of my foxgloves that I possibly can without destroying anything. I have all kinds of spring bulbs coming up in here. I've got some tulips coming up, and I have some daffodils coming up. And I think having some spring blooming foxglove or late spring and early summer foxglove is going to be exactly what the space needs. It'll add some height. It's gonna add some beautiful color. These guys should get about 2 feet tall. And like I said, they should bloom for me first year, and they also should ideally winter over and come back from me the following year, but we will see. I'm hoping that they just self-seed and take over. Like I said though too, this is one that you really don't want to plant if you have dogs that just continue to eat all of your plants and destroy things. This is not ideal for that situation. So I do plan to plant all of these fairly close, and I do want to do a rather large drift of all of these, even planting a few exactly where I'm currently sitting. So I'm going to pop these all out of their cells and just place everybody where I want them to go. These guys probably want about 18 inches apart from each other. We are going to go a bit closer than that and fudge those lines. I prefer to fudge lines when it comes to gardening. So I'll go through. I'm going to give these guys a slight bit of fertilizer. They don't need it, but I do tend to fertilize them. So if you don't fertilize your foxgloves, they will be okay. And I just go through with a very small little pinch, pop that in there, and this guy should be just tucked in and perfect. Repeat this process a million more times. If you're wanting that cottagey feel to any garden, foxgloves are the ones that you need to add. They give that sense of whims and magic, and I think a huge drift of them is absolutely amazing. So I'm just gonna finish drilling all of my holes, and then I'll fertilize all my holes all at once, and then I'll come through and pop everything back in. All right, I got the first field of foxgloves planted. This is all the rose variety right here behind me, and I think it's gonna be super stunning. Now we're gonna do one more section of a big drift of foxgloves. So we'll do the peach ones, and we're gonna go ahead and do them right next to some grasses that I have, and I think that it'll be some beautiful springtime interest. For the last drift of foxgloves, I thought that this would be a perfect spot for them up against our black fence that we have. So this one is the peach variety, and I'm very, very excited about the peach variety. I think it'll be perfect. And what's exciting is I actually have some grasses right here. And so once these foxgloves start to die back, these grasses are really gonna take off and emerge. So they'll kind of trade impact. So the foxgloves are gonna give me impact very early in the springtime into the beginning of summer, and midsummer when these grasses have come into their own, they will take over and the foxgloves will have stopped blooming. So I will get all this interest right here out of a very small amount of space. So we're gonna space these guys out and do the exact same thing. And I think I wanna go out a little bit and in a little bit and over. I've got 3 grasses here, and these 3 grasses really are gonna grow together and make a wall. And that's kind of what I want these foxgloves to do. I want them to compete just a little bit in this area. So I've got 4 + 4 is 8, I've got 16. So I'm gonna just drill 16 holes and then I'll pop them in their holes. Give each of these just a little tiny bit of fertilizer. That really just helps them take off a little bit, but they really don't. They don't need a bunch of fertilizer, so don't go and overfeed these guys. They're just getting maybe a teaspoon of fertilizer each. All right, those foxgloves are going to be so perfect right there, especially up against that black fence. I cannot wait to see those ones grow up. Like I said, I love foxgloves, and now we're gonna do a little bit of cutting back on a few plants that desperately need it. Okay, next I need to cut back some Veronica, and I am a little late on this one specific plant. The rest of these, it'll be totally fine. So this Veronica needs to be cut back, and the reason I want to cut back now is because with cutting this, we're gonna come in nice and sharp. I don't want to damage any of the growth that's about to come this coming year on this plant. And if I wait too long, you can see how much green there is in here. What's gonna happen is I'm going to come in and cut all that off, and I'm gonna give some of these plants a squared off tip. So I would come in here and cut these leaves off, and they would grow up and they would be full of cut off pieces, and I really don't want it to have a sheared off look. So coming in and just cutting these guys off now is going to help this grow and be very beautiful and not have just a straight flat top across it. So making sure we're coming in and cutting back before everything starts to grow is super important. I want to make sure I'm doing this now in my area. A lot of you guys need to wait until spring is just about to hit. We've just had some really weird weather here where days are hitting almost 70 degrees. So things are starting to wake up in my garden, which is crazy and not appropriate. So I'm doing things very, very early. So I've got 5 plants in here, and I'm gonna just cut back the rest of these 4. All right, my friends, that is going to be it for this video. Very great day in the garden. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for visiting our garden, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.